What is weather forecasting? Weather forecasting is a process where a meteorologist or somebody who tries to predict the weather looks at a lot of different information like satellites and radar and weather maps to try and understand and predict, also known as forecasting, where and what kind of weather we'll see. The information that a meteorologist looks like can vary from instruments that live in space, like a visible satellite, which looks a lot like, or works a lot like your eyes. It views what's going on in the earth below to identify where we see clouds, where we don't have clouds, and also where we see other things like smoke and fog. We can also use weather radar. Weather radar is used to identify where there is rain or snow, or even things like bugs. And it works a lot like your voice echoing in a cave. Your voice goes outwards, bounces off the cave walls, and comes back to your ear. For a radar, it sends out information into the atmosphere, it bounces off of something like a raindrop, and it comes back to the radar where it listens for that information to come back. It can tell us information such as where we have rain and snow, if we have thunderstorms or just light rain, and even things like where we have bugs and bats. Next, we look at things like weather stations, which you might have one at your own school district. A weather station has all sorts of instruments on it. Thermometers, something called an anemometer, which measures the wind speed and direction, and other instruments. We use this to tell us information about how the weather is changing as we work our way through the day, how hot or cold it is outside, how humid it is, and even how windy it is. Once we collect all of this information, we take the information and plug it into what's known as a supercomputer. A supercomputer is a really big cluster of computers. How many do you think there are? 10? 10 times over again, or 100? Even more. In a supercomputer that we use for weather prediction, we might have upwards of 1,000 or 10,000 or even 1,000,000 computers working to solve this problem. This is all plugged into what's known as a weather model, which solves math to try and figure out what's going to happen in the atmosphere to try and predict the future. Meteorologists use this information to tell us things like what the wind is doing at the jet stream, where airplanes fly, way up in the atmosphere, about 10 or so miles up above our heads. It can tell us things like how cloudy is it going to be? Will it be really cloudy, partly cloudy, or sunny skies? It might also tell us where we see things like rain and how heavy it's going to be, or perhaps if that rain is going to be snow, which we see in blue here, or even things like freezing rain and ice, like we see in pink. Next, we can also look at how windy it'll be where we live down here at ground level. This can tell us things about how strong or how weak the winds will be, just like we see with the winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere near the jet stream. Once we have all this information in place, one of the most important jobs for meteorologists is to share this information with all the different people who use it. Now, you might look at the weather forecast on your own sometimes through a few different places. Groups like the National Weather Service, AccuWeather, your local TV meteorologist, or even on your phone or your parents' phone. All of these different places take information put together by meteorologists and weather models to tell you what the weather is going to be on a given day, how warm or cold it might be, if it's going to be cloudy or not cloudy, if it's going to rain or snow, and if it's going to be really windy or not so windy at all. Now, the weather forecast can tell you all sorts of things. It can tell you if it's going to be a rainy day that might cancel a baseball game, like we see here with thunderstorms canceling the Pirates game, to things about warning you about a tornado, which might cause some damage where you live. Places like where do you go during a tornado can also be communicated by a meteorologist. Lastly, we can also see whether roads need to be plowed or not, how much snow we're going to get, and also if you're going to need sunscreen if it's too hot to be outside. So meteorologists have a lot of jobs, a lot of things to convey to the public and to yourself to help you decide what you're going to do on a given day.